Call the FBI for all I care. You're joining this HOA whether you like it or not. That's what she spit through my car window. This woman in a fuchsia pink power suit, dripping diamonds and attitude, tapping those manicured nails against my glass like she was playing Morse code for "I own you." Police sirens already howling in the distance, drawing closer by the second, and there I was, just trying to move into my grandfather's old house on the waterfront. You know what I mean? Seagulls shrieking, the marina breeze tangling the smell of salt and yacht fuel with her perfume and the diesel fumes from my moving truck idling behind me. I swear, even the birds seemed like they were betting on who'd win this mess. 3 weeks ago, I was Sterling Knox Garrison, full name, big plans, thinking I'd finally made it. Today, just another guy getting stonewalled by a neighborhood dictator who apparently owned half the marina. The afternoon sun painted these long, dramatic shadows across the street, and I couldn't help thinking, well, this is about to become the most expensive mistake of her career. She had no clue that in about 47 minutes, the badge tucked in my glove box would turn her entire kingdom upside down. So here's what was at stake: an $847,000 house, $50,000 in so-called back HOA fees, and Cordelia Ashworth Blakewood, president of the Seabs Heights HOA. For 11 straight years, standing between me and my front door. She didn't know I owned something more valuable than any house here. I looked at her, cool, collected, rolled down my window. "Ma'am, I think there's been a misunderstanding." She flashed that diamond tennis bracelet in the sunlight, practically jabbing a clipboard in my face. "No misunderstanding, Mr. Garrison. You will sign, you will pay, and you will comply. Rules are rules, darling." That catchphrase, I tell you, was about to haunt her forever. I stepped out of my car, felt the street go quiet, like the marina itself was holding its breath. My moving guy, Dale, 20 years of dealing with people like her, just looked at me, half amused, half bored. I held out a hand, Sterling Knox Garrison, and she ignored it, straightening her blazer like she was on some royal parade. "Cordelia Ashworth Blakewood, HOA president for 11 years, and your new neighbor, whether you like it or not." 11 years, that's plenty of time to build a little empire and to get real comfortable bending the rules. Neighbors started gathering, 12, maybe more, clutching coffee mugs, pretending to check mail, but really, just soaking up the drama. I gave her the most formal Mrs. Blakewood I could muster, could see the annoyance flicker in her eyes, and politely mentioned I hadn't seen any documents. She wasn't having it. "Documentation? You don't need to review anything. If you refuse, Judge Harrington Blackthorne will handle this swiftly." Now, that name, that sent a chill down my back. Judge Blackthorne. I'd heard his name before. But Cordelia kept charging on. $50,000 in back fees since 2019. Your property was vacant, but that doesn't excuse non-payment. It's still under our jurisdiction. She didn't need to know my grandfather spent the last years of his life in a nursing home, forgetting everything, including this house. But my eyes, trained to notice things, spotted the weird angles of security cameras on every neighbor's roof. Motion sensors too fancy for your average doorbell cam. Someone's been watching this place for months. "Ma'am, I'd be real careful about making legal claims you can't back up." That's when she paused, just for a heartbeat. She took in my gray suit, the way I stood, and I saw it. The look a predator gets when they realize their prey has teeth. "Dale," I called, "give me a few minutes, all right?" "Sir, we unloading or leaving?" "You're leaving," Cordelia snapped. "Property's under HOA seizure till all penalties are paid." Then, like clockwork, 2 police cruisers rounded the corner. The sirens cut through the air, scared the seagulls right off the docks. 2 officers, Deputy Morrison, who looked professional and a bit tired, and Sergeant Walsh, who acted like Cordelia's personal security. "Cordelia, what's the problem?" Walsh asked. "Arrest him for trespassing. He's interfering with official HOA business," she demanded. Morrison wasn't buying it. "Ma'am, this sounds civil. Anyone commit a crime. He's trespassing," she insisted. I calmly pulled out my property deed, filed, notarized, all proper. "Officers, there's some confusion here. This is my deed. Properly filed. Also, I have certain security clearance requirements that might complicate HOA oversight." The word security clearance hung in the air. Cordelia's eyes narrowed. She tapped that bracelet again, a nervous habit. What kind of clearance? Morrison asked. Federal property designations, I said. I need to make a few calls before anyone touches this house. A helicopter roared overhead. Conversation stopped. When it passed, Cordelia's mask cracked. Just a little. Federal property? That's absurd. But she was rattled. I stepped away, phone in hand, dialing legal. Spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. Yes, federal protocols, HOA jurisdiction questions. Cordelia started whispering urgently to Sergeant Walsh. And hey, if you're enjoying this wild ride, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. Oh, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I guarantee every country has its own HOA horror stories. While the cops double-checked my paperwork, I walked inside my grandfather's house. The key still worked, miracle, right? The place smelled like dust and lost years, but in the study, tucked in an old filing cabinet, I found something wild. Coast Guard papers from 1943. Turns out, this house was a federal observation post until 1971. Maps, comms gear specs, official paperwork that had never been revoked. This wasn't just a house. It was a piece of military history. I snapped some photos, stepped outside, and waved a document at Cordelia. She snatched it, scanned the letterhead, and her face went from annoyed to pale panic. We've been collecting HOA fees for 12 years, she sputtered. Have you? I asked. Because my grandfather never paid a dime in 43 years. And there's a record here saying the HOA never had jurisdiction. Morrison stepped in. So, you're saying this place has federal protection? I'm saying, I replied. It's never been part of the HOA. Coast Guard designation predates the HOA by 30 years. Cordelia's mask was slipping fast now. This must be some technicality. Actually, it isn't. And you'll have plenty of time to read up on your own rules. The marina's boats hummed louder, the smell of salt and seaweed stronger, a reminder that this was prime real estate. And now everyone realized things weren't so simple. But then, something else, 17 cameras, perfectly positioned. Not for break-ins, but for surveillance. Interesting security system, I said. Cordelia stammered something about break-ins, but I'd seen military grids before. Motion sensors, night vision, overlapping fields of observation, pretty advanced for an HOA. Walsh's radio crackled. After a short, tense exchange, he told Cordelia, Dispatch says there's a federal audit inquiry about HOA finances. Property transfers, irregularities. Something called Seib's Development LLC. Her bracelet started tapping like a woodpecker. We need to clean up certain irregularities before they arrive, she muttered, forgetting there were 2 cops and a crowd of neighbors standing right there. I leaned in. What kind of irregularities require a cleanup crew before a federal audit? She blustered, but the damage was done. The more questions I asked about the Shell Company, Judge Blackthorn's court, 7 forced property seizures in 3 years, the more I saw her unravel. All the while, neighbors recorded everything, some probably streaming live. Then, a black SUV pulled up, slow, deliberate. The kind of vehicle that says, we're here to watch, not to chat. Cordelia saw it and went ghost white. Mrs. Blakewood, maybe it's time to be honest about what's going on here, I said, low and serious. She glared at me, half fear, half calculation. Then her phone rang. One look at the caller ID, and I saw real terror. Yes, sir. I understand. The audit wasn't supposed to happen this soon. She hung up, all confidence gone, and tried to call for a delay. I told her, I think everyone deserves to know what kind of community business has been happening here. By now, the sun was down, gold turning to deep purple, the marina alive with boats returning and neighbors huddled in knots, whispering. And then the SUV's doors opened, 3 figures in dark suits, the kind of coordinated walk you only see from feds. Their leader flashed a badge, Agent Presley Martinez, FBI. We're looking for Cordelia Ashworth Blakewood, in connection with an ongoing federal investigation. The crowd was so silent, you could hear the waves. Cordelia, now barely more than a shadow of her earlier self, whispered, That's me. Ma'am, we need to discuss Seib's development and certain property transactions. Agent Martinez was polite, but everyone knew this wasn't an invitation. Then the twist nobody saw coming. Cordelia, trembling, reached into her purse and pulled out, not a clipboard, but a badge. Agent Cordelia Ashworth, Governor's Financial Crimes Division. 3 years deep cover. Been investigating systematic abuse of judicial authority. I swear, the air left the block. Martinez blinked, looked at her, then at me. And then, my phone rang. Governor's office, urgent. Agent Garrison, stand down. Ashworth's one of ours. You're now to coordinate with her. Operation Siebes is bigger than you know. My head spun. I looked at Cordelia, now Agent Ashworth, with new respect. She'd been undercover, working the same case as me from the inside, and I'd been trailing her, thinking she was the villain. Together, we dropped the bomb. Records, recordings, names. Martinez's jaw hit the floor. Cordelia laid it out. Judge Blackthorne wasn't the mastermind. He was middle management. The real ringleader? Senator Beauregard's campaign, using forced property seizures for illegal fundraising, 12 states, nearly $9 million in dirty money. We set the sting. Cordelia, wired up, went to the emergency HOA meeting with Blackthorne and his cronies. I barged in a few minutes later, playing the angry homeowner. Everything was recorded, every threat, every whispered instruction to destroy evidence, every admission of working with a compromised FBI official. The tactical team swooped in. Judge Blackthorne, 2 more judges, a state senator, and their entire network, arrested. Assistant Director Crawford at the FBI, caught leaking investigations. The whole house of cards collapsed in a single night. 3 months later, standing in my grandfather's house, the sun painting the marina in gold, I watched Cordelia, now Director Ashworth, lead a task force protecting families from HOA abuse. Restitution paid, property values up, new federal laws in place. The Siebes Protection Act making sure nobody could ever pull this stunt again. 6 months later, we were back at it. Copycat operations, new shell companies, more crooked officials. Each time, we shut them down faster. The badge in my glove box wasn't just a symbol, it was a promise that no matter how clever the criminals, justice always finds a way. If you stuck with me this long, let me ask you, what do you think? Are HOAs too powerful? Ever seen corruption up close? Drop your stories in the comments. Smash that like, hit subscribe, and remember, the most important rule is that justice always comes knocking, no matter how thick you build your walls. Rules are rules, darling, and sooner or later, the right ones always win.